Listen, he's a joke. Here's the reality. The Republicans currently control the House.
Tied to Pete Hegseth, attempted to make defense-related investments in the weeks before the U.S. struck in Iran. You're on the House Oversight Committee. We should say those investments were never made, but is that something Congress should be looking into?
We should absolutely be looking into it. In fact, we continue to have these conversations around even members and trading and what that looks like and whether or not members should be allowed to trade. And if members aren't allowed to trade, are their family members allowed to trade? I think that we have seen so much corruption from this administration. We can look into it. But the question is, how good of a record are we going to make? And will we ever have an administration that will actually seek justice? And will this president, this corrupt president, go and blanketly decide to pardon any and everyone who has been engaged in corruption? And so what does that look like as it relates to state lawmakers and state prosecutors? And will we be able to work with them? Because at some point in time, there has to be accountability. If there is no accountability under this administration or afterwards, then we will see the devolution of our democracy be fully complete, unfortunately.
Donald Trump doesn't care whether you get paid or not. He doesn't care. As long as you serve him unconditionally, whether it is his domestic policies or policies outside, especially in regards to what is happening right now in Iran, you are going to be treated like very, very important person by Donald Trump. But the moment you step out of line, that line that Donald Trump set for you, then you will be in prison. You will be criticized and your career will be ended. This pedophile, this monster sitting in White House is doing nothing but ruining this country of America. This is what he's doing every day. But he gets called out too. Take a listen at this one from Jasmine Crockett. Before I play the video, not subscribe to my channel, consider subscribing. Have a listen.
The Senate and the White House. And so we know that the Republicans are not good at math. But the reality is that the Senate sent us a bill. They were able to figure it out. And the House decided to obstruct. And when I say the House, I mean the Speaker of the House. He is the one that decides what it is that actually hits the floor. And unfortunately, he decided against our federal workers. Much of what this administration and the Republicans have been doing since they've been in power has been against federal workers in general. All he had to do was put that bill on the floor. Instead, he opted for a 60-day continuing resolution, which meant that there was no agreement. There was nothing to send to the president's desk.
But you still have all these federal workers who aren't getting paid, critical federal workers who are not getting paid. And we saw in this case, there was a pain point with all those long lines, everybody complaining that what was happening on cable news, which we know the president watches, was bad. Yeah. And so he took care of it, right? He saw to it, something he could have done earlier to see that they got paid.
Correct.
What's it going to take now for the rest of those folks whose jobs, who not getting paid for their jobs, may not have the kind of video results that show what's happening out there?
No, well, and the reality is that TSA got paid their back pay.
Yeah.
They are still shut down, DHS. So going forward, there are no guarantees until we actually pass a bill. So I do want to be clear. There may be a little relief right now over the Easter holiday, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be sustained. So what it takes is actually communicating while we're supposed to be doing our work. We know that we were in session. The Republicans and the Democrats in the Senate somehow figured this out. It is hard for me to believe that they didn't communicate with the House. Anyone that knows how to govern knows that if you are going to get something to the president's desk, it takes communication, not only within your chamber, but across the chambers. And so I believe that it was the speaker who probably got his information from the president. And the president told him to shut it down because, frankly, we don't have two separate governing bodies. We have a group of people that simply do whatever it is that the president wants them to do. And the president wanted to be seen as the savior. You've noted, along with every other cable news outlet, how bad his current ratings are. And so this was an opportunity for him to look like he was the big guy in the room. But the reality is that the only reason that our country is broken in all ways is because of this president and because of the lack of courage on the Republican side.
I have to say, though, it's not only the president's ratings that are bad. Congress isn't doing so great. In fact, Democrats aren't doing so great. So there's a new poll out. Congressional approval is down to 30%. Democrats don't fare any better, by the way, than Republicans do. So are you at risk of an election that's essentially throw the bums out? That's bad for a lot of incumbents because if you go out there and you talk to a lot of folks, they are sick of it not being functional and they're sick of the finger pointing. They think it's all a mess.
I agree. But what usually happens is people are usually like, all the rest of them are bad, and they keep voting for their own, right? So that's typically what happens.
That's also true. Yes, you're right about that.
So, we will see. I think that every single elected official needs to figure out what it takes to actually make sure that their constituents are happy.
You have to understand, Pete Hegseth recently, or yesterday actually, he visited the troops in the Middle East, and he gave some, morality talk and all that. But why would he go there? Just, you think, to boost their morale, to encourage them to fight? No, he went there with something else in his mind, and that is trying to see what is happening so that he can get more money from his donors, from his, not donors really, but from his shady businesses. And that's exactly what is happening right now. As ex-CIA Chief of Director Brennan, he said that this guy and his administration, all of the people, Donald Trump, he's a pathological liar, he's corrupt, and he doesn't know what he's doing. So guys, when Jasmine Crockett is saying all of those things and pointing out to us what this Trump administration is trying to accomplish these days, she's pointing to utter and complete failure from this Trump administration. Unbelievable. Subscribe for more videos. See you in the next one.